with the global markets. That didn't happen.
Hmm.
And as you rightly mentioned, that swing lows, taken off, markets, technically have been, on the reverse momentum.
Hmm.
And the Nifty RSI, which is the relative strength indicator, that was at a very high level. And probably we have given a lot of that, strength up in the last 4 or 5 trading sessions. Especially last 2 trading sessions were quite weak. Given the fact that the mid caps, any mid cap you pick up,
Yeah.
is down anywhere between 4 to 5% on an average. The portfolio damage is higher, but yes, on an average 4 to 5% lower for small and mid caps for the trade today.
That's true, Yatin. Look at the breadth. 1:11 NSE advanced decline ratio. And on the Nifty as well, hardly any gainers, right? Only 2 gainers, ICICI Bank and Nestle India. Just about hardly 0.6% kind of gain coming in on the top Nifty gainer today. All of the other stocks are lagging behind. Adani Enterprises, BEL, M&M, Coal India, Tata Steel, SBI, all of these stocks among top laggards down anywhere between 2 to 3% apiece. India VIX volatility index has jumped over 4% today, above that 14 level. Bank saw a 700-point fall, but 51,000 on the downside, I think, should be the key support. Likes of metal, tea, autos, all of these pockets have seen a fair bit of grubbing today. Even PSU banks, for that matter, the Nifty PSU bank index was down somewhere around 4 to 5% or thereabouts. Talk about the mid cap end of the markets, Yatin. Lots of these defense and PSU stocks are under pressure today.
Absolutely, defense stocks under pressure. And if you look at the advanced decline ratio, it was almost 1:15. So only one stock gaining and 15 stocks declining. So that is the kind of market breadth or the damage that we have seen in trade today. The small cap index was down 4%, mid cap index down 2.5%. Big cuts coming in, in these indices. Hyundai, that IPO listed today.
Yeah.
And quite a weak, listing for that stock, below the IPO price, and consistently traded below that IPO price. We'll talk more about that stock in detail. But today we had the likes of City Union Bank doing well in trade, 12% higher on the back of good numbers. Hindustan Zinc, Varun Beverages almost 2.5% higher. Varun Beverages, in fact, they have been talking about the African investment plans that they have moving ahead. So Congo, South Africa, and other US. And the
a second manufacturing facility as well back in India.
in these African countries. So yes, US investments plus domestic investments will be put in these African countries to start bottling units. But PSU stocks, Nandita, GRSC down 13%, Mazgaon down 10%, and Amber Enterprises, that stock was up 12% yesterday, 10% down today. So PSU stocks have been sliced. And other select mid caps also, the likes of ABFRL, Supreme Industries, clearly under pressure for the trade.
That's true, Yatin. Before I move on to the stocks that are on our radar, I just want to point out Zomato has reported its numbers, multi-fold jump in profit at 176 crore rupees vis-a-vis 36 crore rupees on a year-on-year basis. Revenue strong, 69% jump on a YY basis. EBITDA profit has come in at 226 crores vis-a-vis an EBITDA loss of somewhere around 50 crores in the last year. Aside of that, margins have also come in at almost 5%, 4.7%. Of course, quick commerce, that's one hot space, and the company has been expanding in that sense, growing its Blinkit business. The board has also approved the fundraise of 8,500 crore rupees through QIP. That was, of course, being reported earlier as well. Fundraise, the company has said, is to strengthen the balance sheet. How exactly they use the fundraise, perhaps there's some bit of clarity that comes in that would be, of big help to shareholders as well. But aside of that, Yatin, another company that reported numbers and stood out in a weak market, gains of somewhere around 3% or thereabouts, was Varun Beverages, one of the largest bottling partners of PepsiCo India. In fact, it follows a calendar year, so it was the third quarter for the company. Reported revenue growth of 24% on a YY basis. Profit rose over 20% as well. Top line growth was largely driven by contributions from Bevco, the South African acquisition that it has made earlier in the year, as you were mentioning. So that is boding well. It has also expanded its distribution network, increased its product penetration in the third quarter. Favorable demand trends, in key markets have also driven the company's performance in the third quarter. Margins expanded over 100 points. Demand went 20 basis points to 24%. Gross margins have also seen good 20 to 22 basis point kind of an uptick. 5.5% is 55.5%. I beg your pardon, is where it's at. And despite heavy rains throughout the quarter, the company has been able to hand in a mid-single-digit kind of volume growth of 5.7%. That's a reprieve because other FMCG companies have not been able to show any kind of volume growth, right? So that's one thing. And a notable shift that was also witnessed in the quarter was that 49% of the company's consolidated sales volume came from low sugar or no sugar drinks. That's showing a shift towards healthier beverages as well. International volumes also grew somewhere around 8% organically. The company has made significant progress on new facilities across India. In fact, new units are on track to be commissioned, by the key season next year itself. It's also successfully commissioned its greenfield unit in the Congo area. So that's also expanding its global footprint. Also, the company said that the expansion or the kind of the way the company is moving forward with expansion has actually encouraged the company to go forward with its backward integration, as well as second facility which is yet to be commissioned. That will be commissioned by next year. That's what the company has said. So yes, it has been expanding its footprint. Remember, the company is also the stock was split rather in the ratio of 2:5 recently, right? And the company has also announced a plan to raise funds via QIP recently. So a lot of developments around this stock. And recently brokerages have also initiated coverage with buy rating on the stock. Target price seen around that 800 rupees. So all in all, its expansion and increase in footprint globally is something that's boding well for the company going forward when it really gets down to commissioning its other units in India and other expansion plans globally. These are some of the factors that will be watched out for when it comes to Varun Beverages.
Absolutely, and the stock has given phenomenal returns, in the last 12-24 months. But yes, apart from the FMCG sector outperformance, I think the African card that the company is trying to play is something we'll watch out for. And yes, they've lined up a big fundraise, like Zomato, almost $1 billion that they're looking to raise. So let's see how they really utilize this 7,000-8,000 crores which they plan to raise from the markets. But shifting gears and coming to the IPO markets, Hyundai India, you may call it Hyundai, you may call it Hyundai as they call in Korea. That stock listed in trade today. If you look at the valuations per se, it is at a 20-25% discount to Maruti Suzuki, second largest OEM in India. And in terms of SUV market share, in terms of SUV contribution, they are much better than the Indian listed peer like Maruti. Now, Nomura has initiated a buy call on Hyundai India with a target of 2472, which means that from the current market price, it provides a 600 rupees plus kind of upside or 25% return. Nomura believes that the company probably is all set 14% EBITDA trajectory from the level of nearly 13.5% moving forward. So the margin expansion and the volume growth will fuel the earnings CAGR. In fact, Nomura is expecting a 17 to 18% profit compounded annual growth rate for the next 2 financial years. And if the company is able to deliver that kind of a growth number with new launches coming in, I think Hyundai could give good returns to investors. But yes, given the fact that it's a very large IPO and most large IPOs, tend to consolidate for months before, trying to give good returns to investors. So this is one space you need to watch out for. A blue chip company, but below par when it comes to the IPO. When we spoke to the management, they are very confident of taking new SUV products in the markets. They'll soon launch an electric vehicle version of their best-selling SUV, which is Creta, and 3-4 new products in the EV space is what they plan to launch in the next few years. 3.5% is the kind of royalty they pay to Hyundai Motors globally for their R&D and tech services. So yes, that EV stroke hybrid stroke hydrogen car theme can be well played, versus the Korean parent. Yes, listing wise, the market was expecting a very small premium. Stock opened at discount. It should be seen whether or not this discount or subdued listing will be an boon for investors over the long term.
That's true, I think, but there are some other brokerages that have, a cautious view on the stock.
Yeah.
MK being one case in point, they have initiated coverage with a reduced rating, and target price is at 1750, which implies an 11% downside from its IPO price as well. So yes, street is fairly divided, and it's also mentioned that lack of any major launches over the next 12 to 18 months, is one point that is highlighted by MK. But aside of that, Yatin, the other stock that was in focus today was Paytm, reported numbers. Zomato came to the rescue of Paytm. You can say that in this quarter particularly, given the fact that it has reported a net profit of 930 crore rupees vis-a-vis a net loss of 290 crore rupees in the same quarter last year. But of course, it was because of the one-time gain of somewhere around 1300 crore rupees, on account of the sale of its movie ticketing business to Zomato. Sans this, the company would have reported a net loss of 415 crore rupees, which is why I think the stock reacted in such a negative way. We saw 5 to 6% kind of fall coming in on the stock price. But all in all, the second quarter revenue also declined over 30%. Gross merchandise value although increased by 5% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And the company expects this trend to continue, the GMV growth trend to continue due to the festive season as well. And there has been a significant improvement in the payment processing margin as well. That's what the company has highlighted. And it's also said that the new subscription-paying device merchant sign-ups have surpassed January 2024 levels, and the company plans to continue reactivating merchants and redeploy inactive devices to new merchants over the next 2 to 3 quarters. Now, this will bode well for the company. And aside of that, if you look at the financial services revenue, that's also jumped somewhere around 34% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. I remember at the AGM, Vijay Shekhar Sharma had also pointed out that they will be, reapplying for the payment aggregators license also. If that happens, that could be a major trigger for the stock as well. But for now, numbers look okay.
Yeah.
Thanks to the movie ticketing business sale. But aside of that, GMV also trends are looking good. But revenue has dropped somewhere around 30% on a YOY basis. And, a lot really needs to be done, in terms of the payment license and, other regulatory issues. And perhaps we'll see what brokerages really have to say about the numbers tomorrow morning. But for now, the stock reacted negatively to the earnings.
Yes, and I think the RBI restrictions still stock of Paytm, because they're still not allowed to onboard new clients when it comes to the fintech business.
Yeah.
But yes, a challenging environment, still they've done better. But let's for the markets read through and RBI approval or the kind of ban that they have on onboarding new clients, that issue gets resolved shortly. So we'll watch out for that space.
Well, I think with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Closing Bell. Not a pretty picture. Below that 24,500 mark, key support levels being broken. Let's see what we do tomorrow, whether or not, we bounce back and see some buying at these levels, or whether the sell-off will accelerate. Only time will tell. Tomorrow, let's see how really we behave in trade. But for now, have a great evening. And of course, stay tuned to Money Control for all your other news and updates. It's a goodbye from me and Yatin.
Thank you.